Alright, so I already reviewed and did a scouting report of this entire series, so I will be going through it knowing things ahead of time, so I will be talking in hindsight for a lot of this, but it will basically be a lot of like inside knowledge of like things that I assume that the teams were thinking, and then whatever plays they were doing, like how they end up backfiring. So I have like complete hindsight of this series already. So here I like this a lot from UK's side because they're basically deciding, okay, what is France playing? There's a lot of mind games going on in like this Paris qualifier in specific, basically waning away from using Moira at all and basically just playing only Zen goats. So anytime that there was a Moira, teams would then make the swap to it. So Moira seemed to be like the baseline hero at the beginning of this series, or the beginning of this qualifier, where people were always picking Moira, and now teams a lot of times are picking Zen to counter it. I'm not 100% sure. I think Zen is good. I still have a slight preference to Ana, and also running Sombra with 3 supports, so Zen, Lucio, Brig, Rhine, and then Diva, I think is still probably the strongest, but it depends on your team. But we basically see Smex solo. If they're running goats, he's not going to be punished. If they're running a dive comp, then they'll get the information early, but basically he's able to scout it out on his own. They're able to go back, make the swap, and come back. So they go back, they swap to Zen, and it's a really good scout just for the fact that they're able to get back to the point before it unlocks. The problem that UK has for a lot of this series is Mike Yeh plays too aggressively, and he gets focused down. So Poco, I'd say this entire series, he plays like an absolute monster in the fact that he lands a lot of his right clicks on the Brig, which is super important because if you're playing a Zen Goats comp, you rely so much more on that Brig to have the AoE healing because you won't be able to match it with the Moira that France has right now. So it's very important that you keep your Brig alive, and so in fights like this where Mike Yeh falls first, they actually will always lose the sustained fight. So the UK here needs to have a smart rotation where they're able to get the Zen in a position where they can get a Discord on Brig, but you can see actually with the position they're in right now, Soon's allowed to play behind the wall, and then the Zen is over here. So Soon's never going to get Discorded in his position, and he's allowed to swing and hit people that are near the point, keeping his Inspire active up. But it also doubles as the fact that now Boombox might have to overcommit, or Mike Yeh has to walk up to get more value, so it just forces them to overcommit. Something you can do with the Zen comp as well is you don't have to worry as much about taking the trade battles where you're like trying to trade heal. I think you can let your Zen sit a little bit further back and poke more, because you can see in this situation right here, Boombox actually gets like 30% ult charge just in these kite fights because the people holding shields will just be like trading shields. They'll be dropping them sometimes, and you actually have a chance to. You don't have the same sustain, so you won't be able to sustain in these fights, but you'll allow your Zen to get poke before the fight and potentially build his trance very quickly because it'll be very hard for him to miss. Something France does really well here, though, is Poco is constantly hitting right clicks, and if they're disabling the Brig, so UK isn't able to get any Inspire healing from their Brig, then they're going to be poked for a lot of these fights, and you can see Smex and Christopher are both low for a lot of this because there's just not a lot of sustain to go around. They're trying to make that rotation. If they're on speed, then it's just an orb and then the occasional armor pack going on them, but if Poco is constantly poking, if Unco's throwing damage orbs, if Wynn's hitting any shots, then these tanks are getting constantly tagged and they're not actually able to sustain. So having very safe rotations from UK is like super crucial, and then being able to execute really quickly on the Discords. Because you can see right here, both tanks are at half HP in the fights yet even started, and Poco has Grav just with how efficiently he's been poking. That's really all they need to do. Like, they got close to feeding Boombox Trance, but it's very important that they got their grab first. Kib shot their grab. Kib shot his grab into a matrix, whatever. But they definitely shouldn't be using ults. Like, if you get picked early on, that's fine. They come back with the trance advantage. What you want to do if you're UK is put the Discord down, speed in, and then use your trance.
Maybe Overwatch League players, maybe they don't play GOATS, but it doesn't matter when they come up against a team that was forged in the fires of GOATS.com. France, soon in particular, getting the only 2 kills of this round so far onto crucial members in both instances. UK struggling to find a foothold right now. France looking like the most dominant of the 2 teams. It's the only 2 kills that have been needed so far. Coalesce is swinging through Ben Best.
They aren't able to finish Cruz off. Cruz actually did pretty good about surviving.
He's going down, but he hasn't been able to get everyone. Just a few members with the sound barrier. Going to cancel out everything. He's charged up against the wall. Going to be staying alive. Graviton Surge from United Kingdom. Answered by France. They're swinging at each other at point blank range.
So something UK can always do is they can outpace with support ults. So something to consider is in France's team comp, they're actually not going to be feeding as much alt charge to the Lucio. So UK has more alt charge going to Boombox, and he can get faster rotations on his support alt. So they have fights where if they're trading as equally as they are, they will win out because they'll have the scored advantage. And if they don't allow one member to fall, so if they split the damage enough, Mikey A will build his ult up quickly, Cruz will build his ult up quickly, and then Boombox as well. So they'll be able to get more ult charge out from each other, where France will be more so focused on just building beam and using that. So you can see in this fight, it's basically just a ton of trading, and they'll always win out in these grav battles because they'll have the extra support ult. So France already used their beat. UK is able to beat them because they have trance.
Coming back with a vengeance, bringing down the 2 tanks. Normally it's the 2 supports you're aiming for, but you'll take the front line any day of the week against mountain for the UK to climb. Still leaves them a window of opportunity though. They can lose the fight, still come back.
Okay, so Unko swaps to Zen. So it's important to keep track of who is discorded and then who is focused first in these fights.
This next fight should go the UK's way as long as they get this right. They've already caught Ben. Ben Best missed out with the shatter. He's locked up, so the self-destruct will take him out.
So they trade Rhine for Brig, but
so they're missing 1 for 1, but the Reinhardt seems to be more impactful as France are in full retreat. Shatter from Christopher, not gonna
you can see the trades are actually in favor of France because they're so close to their spawn. It's also trading the 2 front lines basically of the UK and the sustain. So they traded the Brig and the Rhine, which is very crucial to the sustain and actually keeping everyone alive because the amount of shields that they have. And then they've traded on the other side the Rhine and the Zen. So they'll be technically more sustain from France, and they'll be able to walk up and poke more. He held trance for too long here. He needed to just instantly pop it right here. But you could see how they lost the sustain, and if the Brig isn't able to stay alive, France did really well about like focusing Mikey A in all these fights super early on, and once he's gone, their sustain is like really poor from keeping these tanks up, and you can see the tanks are getting melted.
Forcing out the climax of this game. Soon is playing absolutely on fire this round, and not just because he's an Overwatch League player. Even when his team are in retreat, when they're losing fights, he's still securing kills to his team and making sure that
UK actually panic engages, or they panic position here. They actually have the Zen on the stairs, and they actually split their team. So I think it's Diva, Brig, and Lucio on the right, and then the Rhine, Zarya, Zen on the left. But if you're playing against this composition with the Lucio, you don't want to split your backline because any poke that they get on the Zen, if their Lucio is closer to you, they're going to be able to speed onto him and kill him before they're able to do anything else with the other split group. So you can see here, once it actually zooms out, they actually end up splitting their back line, and you don't want to have your Zen be unprotected. I know they want to try to touch the point right here, but they're never going to win the potential fight that they're going for right here if they don't beat early or if they just split their back line, because now they're in a position where two members are just going to get focused alone. So it's the Zen right here who died, and then the Ryan's going to get focused next, and then they're going to be at a man disadvantage from the very start of the fight, where I think what they ideally want to do is just have every member rotate away. So if they see members all right here, you just look to speed everyone to the point, use your beat super early, and then have to win out there. But the splitting of the backline actually doesn't end up working. Because you can see they use the beat somewhat panicked. They get to the point, but it's already run off by then. The Brig, of course, is going to get focused first, and France isn't going to be able to lose. Okay. That's the rest of it. Just clean the kills.
In general is that you're constantly fighting over a fixed point. So one strategy may work once, but it's not going to work consistently. So you play what you feel is your best and save the smarter strategy, shall we say, for the later maps. That's why control is often not really the greatest indicator.
I do an overview of like the rotations and stuff in here, and that was not too surprising. It seemed like France is like, they're both like looking for scouting. Kib actually does a good job of staying alive here and out poking Poco, which doesn't actually happen most of the time in this series. The way they're positioned right now, it's like Ryan and Brig are both right here, and the rest of the members are all behind them. So any poke that Kib gets where he shoots past these two and like goes from behind, he'll actually get a lot of AoE that won't be eaten really, and there's no real way to like stop it. So like once the shields both get low here from both the Ryans, he's able to get more value where Christopher's holding a shield a lot, and they're not able to get that same poke with the Zarya that UK is. So we can see he gets a right click, he hits more people. Kib's in a much more passive location where he's able to sit behind his Brig, where Soon had walked up more so to the right here, and then his Zarya was playing a little bit further back. So he gets discorded and focused. He has to immediately walk away. Well, Kib's at full HP, and he's able to use his energy effectively to burn someone. So it ended up backfiring on them just ever so slightly, just for the fact that they took more damage, but that enabled Wins to actually build his beat faster. So Wins did a better job of like staying on heal more often here, because his team technically took more damage from Kib. But they got beat first, so Kib didn't actually get this grab off. He gets discorded and bursted. So it looked like UK was going to get the advantage because they were going to be able to grab first, but all that energy that Kib had in the advantage meant that Wins got that in the form of his ult charge. So UK can technically out-rotate them here though with the ults. They can do it a lot earlier than they did last time, might open up round number 2 and equalize Oasis for them. So we're looking towards now the UK. Got a couple of ultimates online to play with, equally the same goes for France, but they are the ones in. So this poke is super important here. Soon ends up mispositioning, but you can see how France can have the advantage here if they were to play it a little bit smarter. So you want to have, it seems like you want to have your Brig playing like somewhat close to your Ryan, but actually whenever they are coming in starting to spam, you should start to like position out of the way. But it seems like in this situation right here, Christopher's half, Smex is losing HP, and Mikey A is losing HP. So it seems like they should be winning. France should be winning just from the poke itself, because it'll take them so long to get that sustained back. But Soon ends up dropping his shield. He's discorded. He goes for a flail. He definitely shouldn't be going for the flail if he's discorded. Unless he's like got a matrix with him, because he ends up getting bursted in just that tiny window. Stream dies. Unlucky. So Pogo actually did like super good. We can see he's at 93% once the stream actually comes back alive. And he used Grav right here. So it goes from 26% to 58. So he builds basically another Grav in what, 25-30 seconds. So he did super good to stay alive there and actually just build another Grav and another Diva Bomb, because that's what they used to open the fight.
They are still trading kills. They're literally trading main tanks and supports. The only thing that really went wrong for them at the start of that fight was soon peeking without his right click held down. All it took was a quick spray coming through from Boombox, and he dropped his Overwatch League counter 5.
Wins, giving himself that sound barrier. There's also a lot of ults on France. UK can't quite answer for ultimate just yet. They're giving the right time, going to put it against the pillar. Pull the UK together, and France filters in. They fire out their own.
It's super good to play this aggressively. France does really good this entire series to outpace the other Zarya, but also build their trance up faster. So they did good to basically out trance and out Grav them, so they'd like have these fights that are even, but they'd be able to out trade them. So like France would get into a Grav, and then Poco would be like staying alive because he's getting trance, and then building his next Grav. So he'd use Grav early, be in a Grav but staying alive, and then the next fight they would have the Grav already up because they used theirs first. Actually scuffed their combo here. It's unfortunate, but yeah, so here's an instance of Poco. He's getting into the Grav, but they save trance later. So UK has already used all their sustain tools. France now has trance to protect them. They pop the trance, and now Poco's in the Grav, but in the trance, and now he has his high energy, and he's able to beam people down. He still has armor as well. So this trade's in their favor again, where it's, regardless of even if they lose, Poco's been out Graving, because he grabbed first that fight. I say that, but I remember he used this Grav, unfortunately. I think right here, against a better team, this doesn't work, because they've been like getting hard staggered, France has, and UK's had the advantage the whole time. Like, it's so close here where Mikey A got his armor just a little bit later. Boombox is literally about to get trance. If they used this and France dumped their ult economy as hard as they did, it would have made this retake actually impossible for them. But they get actually insanely lucky that UK doesn't get their ults fast enough. They win, but I see it as like a misplay because of how close it was.